You're listening to another episode of the Just Go Bike podcast. That's AKA Murph.
And that's AP. And this is the podcast where we talk about cycling just for the fun of it. With tales from all over the nation, come for the bikes, stay for the fun, and leave with a smile.
Hey listeners, this is AP, and I just wanted to hop in with a quick correction on our part 1 of the RAGBRAI full route discussion with Matt Phippen. After that episode came out, I had a couple corrections. First one being from Mr. Scott Olson, superstar, who has told me that the High Trestle Trail Bridge does not just go over a depression or a canyon or a gorge. It also goes over the Des Moines River. So shout out to the Des Moines River. That is the purpose of the bridge, to span the river. To my defense, a lot of times the Des Moines River is but a trickle when we ride over, or at least that's what it looks like when you're so far up above it in the air. So go check out the High Trestle Trail Bridge and the Des Moines River that it spans. All right, correction number 2 was about Breda, Iowa, and this is just more of a personal note. I had said that I had never been there, but in actuality, we had ridden there on the RAGBRAI Roadshow when we started in Carroll and took the Sauk Trail, and we went to Breda, and Stacy Belcock has actually sent me a picture of myself in Breda. So I have indeed been there, and I had a good time and had some good snacks at the bar there. So I just wanted to make that corrections corner. I didn't want to make them feel left out because I have been there and I did have a good time and I do remember it. All right, on to the show.
All right, well, welcome back, Matt.
Hello.
Let's continue talking about the pass-through towns.
Absolutely.
RAGBRAI 50 part 2, let's go.
Speaking of big, Des Moines is the capital of our great state.
It is.
So it's going to be, this is a huge community.
And it has a big landmark with the Capitol, and it's something that I want all riders to see and experience. So the plan is to bring riders right past the Capitol.
Ooh, that is so cool.
Which is,
amazing.
It's a beautiful, until I was in this job, I never made it to Des Moines a whole lot, and now where our office is, I get to see the Capitol on a fairly regular basis. It's a beautiful building.
Yeah.
Last year was the first time in years that I was actually inside the Capitol, and I'm just in awe of being inside there and seeing all the history that's in that building.
It's a gorgeous Capitol. And actually, we checked, you can see it from my desk. You can see the Capitol
sure.
through the window.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's kind of neat. And it's a drop dead gorgeous Capitol. And I say that being from Coralville, Iowa City, that has the old Capitol.
Yeah.
So that used to be my favorite. They're favorites in different ways, but I can admit it's really beautiful thing, and it's going to be really fun to see.
Yeah.
So make sure that you follow the route all the way into Des Moines and go past the Capitol because it's worth it. The other thing about the Capitol is that there's a whole bunch of artwork all around the Capitol and the Capitol grounds where they have built sculptures over the years. They're just truly impressive. Absolutely worth wheeling around and checking out.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. I can't wait for that.
Des Moines is going to be
the Ames to Des Moines stretch. I think it's just going to be fun.
Yeah. Yep. Our coworker Brittany likes to say that I am a tour guide when I'm in Des Moines. I'm always like, ooh, fun fact. Ooh, fun fact. So I'm looking forward to the podcast on that day. I got a lot of ammo.
Also a gazillion murals.
Yeah.
There's so much art in Des Moines. So that's going to be
absolutely
fun. Okay. So we're going to probably party like rock stars in the capital of the state. Hang out in the Capitol, maybe. Next morning, Altoona, which to me is also kind of a suburb of Des Moines.
It is. And there's, you have to leave Des Moines and you have to go through some of these towns that are massive communities. And that's, it's one of those things too, where there's going to be a lot of towns this year because of the size that, like I said earlier, are going to take you some time to get out of those communities. Obviously we're working with, the Des Moines officials to figure out the best route to get from, Waterworks Park from our main campground into Altoona. And that's obviously evolving and changing. But once we get to Altoona, we're truly back on route and riding.
Yeah. And that's sort of, I live on the east side of Des Moines. I'm not going to pinpoint where I live, but Altoona feels like home to me just as much as Des Moines feels like home to me.
For sure.
And it's just a really cool, also super bike friendly community that sort of gets overlooked sometimes in that a lot of people ride on the west side of Des Moines or the north side up into Ankeny. I can't wait to show you the east side.
Yeah. They were originally on the original too back in the day.
Yep. Oh, cool. Okay. Next from there, we go to Mitchellville. And I do not recall if I've been to Mitchellville.
We've been there 7 times.
What? So
I'm sure you've been there at least once.
So when I go there, I'll probably, as soon as we get there, I'll be like, oh, I remember this
Yep, they were on the original map. The last time they hosted was in 2011, so it's definitely a town that has it is proven. They are super excited too. Like that's what I love about some of these small towns. I mean, I shouldn't say they're almost more excited, but they're just super excited to be on the map again for this year.
Oh yeah, and they're more than qualified to host us, like you said. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's going to be fantastic and a nice way. Like, you have a really big event like in Des Moines. Sometimes you feel kind of let down afterwards. Well, you're not on this day because we have such all-stars on the route. Yeah,
and it's it's one of those things where looking at social media, people there's some that are just not excited about rolling into these big communities, but for year 50, you have to be able to roll in these big communities. But the cool thing that I've seen from the early planning process is these larger communities want to give you that small town feel and that hospitality that is known on RAGBRAI. So they're doing all kinds of amazing things to make that work. So yes, we are leaving one of the biggest communities in Iowa in Des Moines, but it's going to feel like small town when you're there.
Yeah, absolutely. So then we roll on into Colfax.
Yep.
So Colfax, I'm not sure about their town history, but in my family, they're legendary because we got our first dog there.
Oh, really?
So yeah, our little
That's
beagle
awesome.
named Peanut. So I'll always have a special place in my heart for Colfax.
Yeah, they have a tie with Mitchellville for hosting 7 times. So we'll be.
Wow.
They're there originally too. Last time was in 2011, but yeah, they're definitely another community that was just they couldn't say yes fast enough.
Well, as they have a tie, that was nice of you to include both of them, so they didn't have to
That's
fight
right.
over it. So.
You're right.
Yeah, but that is one of those communities where there is a bridge project that we're kind of have our eyes on, and there will be a possibly 2-mile stretch of gravel that we'll make sure is in a good spot for the riders. But we want to go to Colfax, and obviously with that bridge project, the other road that we were going to be going on is going to be out, and we can't get across. There's no physical way for us to get around it, so we have to kind of detour through some gravel.
And I'm assuming you're going to make sure that gravel is rideable for any rider who's doing
Absolutely.
RAGBRAI.
We drove it in a vehicle a couple weeks ago, and obviously it's really crappy out, so it was soggy. But it is a gravel road, but it was very hard packed, and there was not a whole lot of gravel on it. So I talked to the county guys a couple weeks ago, and we're going to have it very similar to last year's gravel route, where they actually shaved the top layer off and really made it hard packed.
Oh, okay.
Barring any major rainstorms or something like that, it may change the dynamic of the day, but that's really the only option to get into Colfax. Mm-hmm. And if for some reason it'd be very unfortunate if we couldn't get there because of that gravel road that day.
Yeah, I mean, I won't say old enough. I'm experienced enough in RAGBRAI that I have done some RAGBRAIs where we were required to ride on gravel.
Yep.
And it was not bad.
Right.
It was an adventure. It was really fun. And like you said, it's worth it to get to the communities.
For sure.
And it's 2 miles.
It's 2 miles.
Right.
It's something
straight shot and you're right there.
We're going to work through.
And it's something that the communities are aware of. We're aware of. The DOT is aware of. It's going to be ready for us as much as possible.
Yeah. Okay. From there, Newton, and I have great memories of riding into Newton, like behind the airport.
Yes. Well, why we did that? You remember why we did that?
No.
That storm was coming. That storm was chasing us.
Big storm.
It was. I've never seen clouds that black before.
No, I know. I remember sitting in the hotel and the rain is just like.
Oh gosh, I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, we were just far enough ahead of it that we beat it, but we were flying, and there was a tailwind pushing us, so we were moving too. But
we were booking it.
There was I don't think there was no tornadoes or anything crazy, but it was just a bad thunderstorm. But it was literally these black clouds trying to run us over.
And this is on the route inspection, not the ride itself.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And this is the meat town, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Newton is a fun place. They have the raceway in Newton. They have an airport in Newton. They're going to be an awesome meeting town.
Yeah. I'm excited for that. And from there we go to Kellogg with 2 G's.
Yes.
Kellogg.
Yeah, 2 G's. It was a community that was not originally in my plan, and because of a construction project brought us to Kellogg. So it was kind of, we stopped in and said, "Hey, ladies, do you want this ride?" And some amazing women in this city hall made it work. So we are now going to go to Kellogg. So they're on the map.
Well, I look forward to visiting them then.
Yeah.
Little bonus town.
Yeah.
So on we go to Grinnell, which is immortal in the RAGBRAI crew in that it's the home to Mr. John Dale.
and Craig Cooper.
Mr. Craig Cooper,
yes.
as well as our route markers, Tanya and Maddie.
Yes.
So a lot of RAGBRAI crew live
Yep.
in Grinnell.
And there is a college there, isn't there?
Grinnell College.
Oh,
yep.
Grinnell College. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's a really cool place. There's also a Poly Ice Pizza for those of you who, are pizza aficionados. There's all sorts of things in Grinnell. It is the jewel of the prairie.
Is that what they call it?
Yes.
You're like a plethora of knowledge.
I told you.
I can't ever tell if she's bullshitting or if she's actually like being serious. I'm just gonna go with it.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
So we love Grinnell. It's an awesome community. I remember they were a host town a number of years ago when I was a civilian riding RAGBRAI, and it was so hot. It was so hot. And just taking refuge in the college, it was just such a welcoming place.
Total years of RAGBRAI experience, 36.
Whoa.
Wow.
36 total years with all these towns.
Wow.
So it's good.
So they're ready for us.
They'll be ready for us. But yeah, Grinnell is truly it's a RAGBRAI community for sure.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Through and through.
Yep.
Okay, so from Grinnell, we pedal, it looks like a little bit longer distance to get to our overnight community of Tama, Toledo.
Yeah. Some construction projects kind of brought us some new roads, so it will be a longer stretch. So it's about 25 miles from Grinnell into Tama, Toledo. I can't say that this is true because I don't want to show favoritism, but some of the views this day are pretty amazing. So it's some good stretches.
Yeah, don't judge your opinion about this part of the state based on what you see from I-80.
Yeah.
It's way above and beyond that.
Yeah, I agree.
So Tama, Toledo, the interesting thing about that for me is that it's a dual host.
Mm-hmm.
We get two for the price of one.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, we don't always get that. I mean, we'll be in communities like Des Moines where there are adjoining communities, but with this time, it's truly 2 for 1.
Yeah, I think one of the cool things I've been hearing about these communities is they're truly like really working together and, partnering and not, working against each other, but, working for the riders. And, some of these, towns that you roll through like that are this close, you don't always get that. It's them versus us kind of thing. And it's just great to see these two communities truly form one and support the riders that day.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, next morning we wake up fresh, ready for another day of biking, and first stop is Chelsea.
Yeah, Chelsea's a town that is small but mighty, and they're going to do a really good job hosting. We went in and stopped there to find the people, and their city hall's under construction, so they were basically at the fire department, which we didn't know. But the people that welcomed us were super excited to get the paper signed and get them on the map.
That is a town with a population of 229.
Whoa.
I mean, I just love that enthusiasm out of them. I mean, they could easily have said, we'll pass, but they didn't.
Yep, for sure.
So
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so from Chelsea, we go to Belle Plaine.
Yeah, you're kind of getting close to my backyard in Benton County, and Belle Plaine was another one. Yeah, they couldn't say yes fast enough. It'll be a fun little stretch that day.
Yeah, it looks like they have a really cute downtown historic district in the middle of Belle Plaine, so that'll be really neat to just kind of get a little sneak peek of that.
And from there, we end up at the meat town, which is Marengo.
Yeah, Marengo was another one too that originally wasn't on my map when we started planning, but because of road construction projects, and I hated stopping in and saying, "Oh, by the way, you weren't originally on my map, but you are now," kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it actually worked out better for everybody. That community is amazing. They just formed a new division that's handling a lot of these events in the community called Marengo. And they're super excited, and the director has been talking about RAGBRAI and has wanted RAGBRAI, so now she's getting it for this year. So, but yeah, not originally on our original plan, but to have that star on the map now is a pretty big deal.
I love it. That's one of those ones you see the sign for on 80 and you wonder what the town is like. Well, now you're going to know.
Yeah, you're gonna find out.
Yeah. Okay, from there, we're getting close to my stomping grounds.
Yes.
Actually, all of our stomping grounds.
sure.
Yeah.
But Amana, there is so many cool things to talk about with Amana.
Yeah, and I think you could probably do an entire podcast on that community. I was just there a couple hours ago. I stopped in and talked to those ladies, and there's just driving 20 miles an hour through the town. There's so many amazing buildings, and it's not just Amana. I mean, there's West Amana, there's Middle Amana, there's High Amana. I mean, there's all these different Amanas, but our pass-through will be truly Amana. There's a brewery there. There's just so many cool shops that you're going to see. But yeah, those two ladies were fired up about RAGBRAI coming through.
Yeah.
And I may be misspeaking, but isn't it kind of designed as it's got a German feel to it?
Yep.
A lot of the buildings are very German focused. I don't know if that's the right word I'm saying.
Yep. I would call it the Amana colonies because
Sure.
it's 7 colonies that make up the one. And there is the one main Amana that we're going to be going through.
Yep.
And they were founded by Germans back in the day. And they still maintain that feel.
Whirlpool is there. So they have the huge factories who come into town, and there's been a lot of chatter on social media because around 3:30 they have a shift change, and that'd be basically when the majority of the riders are going to be coming there. Talking to them today, they've already talked to Whirlpool, and Whirlpool is basically changing, shutting down the factory that day, so there will be no major issues, which is fantastic.
Sure.
Thank you for Whirlpool for just kind of helping us and our riders out that day, because that's a lot of vehicles leaving that time when our riders are going to be there, so they're willing to help out with the ride that day, and then truly Amana will step in and provide you guys with a world-class experience.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to tell us that they were closing down the factory, so we'd all have to go work for the day.
go all work.
Everybody has to install one bolt and then you can pass. That's such a good example of working together with the community and making it work for everybody.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's on route, and we see it when we do pre-ride. These big trucking companies that are running routes that day, and we reach out to them, and the majority of them say, "Absolutely, we're going to help you guys out. We'll either shift the route that day, we'll give our drivers the day off, whatever it is, because they don't want their riders their drivers, interacting with bicycles." So it's just great when these Iowa companies help us figure it out and make it safe for the ride.
And it's really cool as a rider to see where some of these iconic companies are.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like I've never seen the home of Whirlpool, and
I was amazed. I was riding the route today, and I drove by it really, really slow. It is a massive facility. It is huge, and I didn't know that was even there.
Yeah, and that's a household brand that you'd see all across the country.
Absolutely, it is.
Yeah,
That's cool. Okay, so from Amana, we end up in Oxford.
Yep, 3 times. Last time was 2011. It's a really small, quaint town. It has one of those downtown feels where you just ride, you ride through it, and it's like set up perfectly for a RAGBRAI. But yeah, another town that was very excited to host our riders.
Yeah, I love that. And then we wheel on into my hometown of Coralville.
I would even classify that as my second hometown because I was there for so many years.
Absolutely.
But, beautiful community. Camp Cardinal is the road we're going to take in. If you guys remember from last time we rolled through, that Coralville committee had a bunch of stuff on the roads leading you guys in. That town is ready for riders to come through.
Camp Cardinal is the road that, I took the precursor to that road to get to high school every single day when I was in high school. Nice. There used to be a different road there that they redid and made into a better road, and it is the ideal road. And let me tell you this, from me to you, it's downhill into Coralville. So
that's awesome. I used to work in Coralville, so I spent many, many, many days on like lunch break biking on that road. So that's really exciting.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Gonna have to go ahead and say hi to my mom and dad in Coralville. They'll be biking too, but
I think on a previous podcast you invited all of RAGBRAI to come to your parents' house.
They still can. Yeah.
I'm sure they're gonna love that.
Yeah.
They won't be there though. They'll be riding.
Yeah,
right?
That's right. Yeah. So that's fine. But
okay, so we wake up after a amazing night in Coralville, and we kind of we cruise through Iowa City because it's like a sister city. You probably won't realize where Coralville ends and Iowa City starts.
Yeah, I had my store was in Coralville, but our store was called Iowa City Shields.
Yeah,
so it wasn't Coralville Shields; it was Iowa City Shields.
Oh yeah.
So for the longest time, it was always kind of one with the other. But we are overnighting in Coralville.
Yep.
And we are passing through Iowa City.
Got it.
Yeah. Obviously, you can't be that close without going past Kinnick Stadium and checking that out. And then just the whole downtown district is beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kinnick is cool. Carver Hawkeye is cool. I think we probably will see, if we don't pass by Carver Hawkeye, we'll see it because it's so close to Kinnick.
It is.
And it's just a really cool historic area. Obviously near and dear to my heart as well.
And you mentioned this earlier, but Iowa City used to be the Capitol. And
yeah.
so there is a Capitol building. I think it's actually called Old Capitol,
yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I don't know if we'll be near that, but you can see it from a lot of different roads.
Yeah.
Out of all the towns on route this year, Iowa City has the most RAGBRAI visits with 10.
Oh, interesting.
They know what they're doing.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah, good. Okay, then we have a little bit of a long stretch, Iowa City all the way to West Liberty.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to start going south and get towards Davenport, and West Liberty is a great community. The roads leading into West Liberty are fantastic. Yeah, it'll be a fun day of riding into West Liberty.
I remember West Liberty and one of my very first RAGBRAIs as a little kid stopping at a relative's house and getting a Gatorade and just being like, are we done yet? No. So I love West Liberty too. And it's really a treat to be going through that community.
Okay, from West Liberty, we go to Muscatine, which if you're looking at a map, Muscatine is actually on the river. So I'm really excited for this last stretch.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, it's, we had a lot of, early on, a lot of people wanted us to end in Muscatine and do the dip in Muscatine. And, Harper's are down there, and, they really wanted to end in Muscatine. And I knew we weren't ending in Muscatine. I knew it was going to be Davenport. But, for us to be able to go into Muscatine, and it's another one of those communities that has tons of RAGBRAI history. Mm-hmm. And we're gonna do something that's gonna be kind of fun and different. We have a double dip this year. It's kind of what we're looking at, because you can dip in Muscatine and be able to dip in Davenport. Sumter was messaging me back and forth, and he shared something on social media, and he calls it double dipping with Phippen. So I texted him. I said, "Did you already make T-shirts?" And he's like, "No, not yet." I said, "I already copyrighted it. You can't do it. They're ours." But no, it's something that I think we're going to do differently. And my worry is, people will dip in Muscatine and then just not finish. But you got to finish. So in order to get people to finish, we are creating a challenge coin that will be delivered to you when you dip in Davenport. So dip your tires in Muscatine, but know that you're almost there, and we need to get you into Davenport so you can dip with Davenport and then receive your challenge coin for the week.
Yeah. And that part of the state, riding along the Mississippi is always gorgeous. If you dip out in Muscatine, you are cheating yourself.
Oh yeah.
Out of one of the prettiest parts of the ride, and one of the sense of accomplishment of finishing RAGBRAI.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that, looking at last year, people were, losing their minds that, the mileage into Lansing was a lot last year and the elevation was crazy. And, I knew that if they got to a certain part, that final downhill spot that takes them into Lansing would make everything worth it. And,
absolutely.
The people talked about how beautiful that was. It's kind of the same thing with the ride into Davenport. It's on the river. It's these bendy roads back and forth. But we have one more town before we dip into Davenport.
Yeah, I was going to say Buffalo is in the middle of there, and that's one other community that I don't recall we've ever been to.
And according to my facts, we've never actually been in Buffalo before. So this will be a newbie. Hopefully somebody can fact check that to make sure. But I was trying to research it. I couldn't find a time that we were in Buffalo. Based on our archives, but another community that's right there, that area is, super easy to get to and get into Davenport, because we'll pass through, but a town that's excited to host riders.
I love a brand new Buffalo.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, it's a fun little road, get you into Davenport, and then we'll obviously, once we make it to Davenport, we'll get down to the river and we'll dip, and RAGBRAI 50 will be in the books.
And I want a challenge coin.
Yeah.
It's going to be cool.
It is cool.
Just, most people, I think, that, set out to do RAGBRAI want to go every mile, river to river. So for a lot of people, the challenge coin will just be a bonus.
Yeah, and it's working with some of these law enforcement agencies that we've had in previous years. I've received multiple challenge coins that the departments do, and it's just a really, really cool piece to own. We've been partnering with Dave Edwards with Primal. He has some vendors that can produce a coin. I've seen multiple images, and it's very, very cool. It's a coin that actually stands up too, so it doesn't just lay down. It's pretty neat, but it will truly showcase 500 miles, 17,000 feet to climb, all the time that you curse my name on all those big hills will be truly worth it when you have that coin in your hand at the end.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, cool.
And Davenport is a community that really knows RAGBRAI. They really do RAGBRAI right. And their dip site is always, it's accommodating is how I think of it. It is wide enough to fit us. It is ready to help us. And a lot of people are concerned about the Bix race being at the same
Yep.
time. Do you want to talk about that a little
Yeah,
bit?
no, by the time we get there, the race will be over and it'll all be good. The Bix people have been part of some of our meetings, so they know what's going on too. It's truly a way to showcase, the running side of the world and the cycling side of the world, and obviously combine them in Davenport. I don't have any concerns about it. They'll have a party in the morning, and then our party will show up later in the afternoon and in the evening. But Dave and his Davenport team, they are fantastic. They are just firing on all cylinders right now.
Yeah.
And Bix is like a very long-standing event
it's
that
huge.
happens in Davenport.
A marathon.
I was going to say it's a running event.
Yeah. Yep. And we have had RAGBRAI and Bix at the same time multiple times. And for me, as far as I've ever heard or experienced, it's never been an issue.
Yeah.
So
Good.
Yeah, no, we have people that basically race to Davenport, run the Bix, and then finish, and they do that. I got one of the lead ladies with the Bix reached out to me and said, "Hey, if you want to come and do this race and then go do RAGBRAI, that'd be fantastic." I'm like, there is zero chance I'm freaking running anywhere.
I've seen Phippen ride a bike all sorts of different places. I've never seen you run.
You'll never see me run.
Yeah.
You're never going to see me run. My wife loves to run. There's zero chance I'm running.
Yeah.
All the respect to runners, but not it.
Oh my gosh, this is going to be such a great RAGBRAI.
Yeah, that last day, combined history, 36 years. So
Wow.
there's a lot of history there. So for the entire week, the total number is 195 total years of RAGBRAI experience.
Wow.
So
That's
I feel good
amazing.
about that.
I think we should. Yeah.
You know, something we are missing is the Century Loop.
Yeah, Century and gravel.
Yeah, and the gravel.
It's happening.
Okay.
We want to make sure that's truly dialed in. The last year, if you guys all remember, we had a Century Day, and you think people lost their minds about other things. They lost their mind about having to do 100 miles, and it was one of the most beautiful days on
God, it
RAGBRAI
was
last
so
year.
beautiful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was gorgeous. We got lucky. I will say it out loud. We got lucky, and we had a day where people were averaging 18 miles an hour. First time Century riders that want to do another Century the next day. I mean, they were jacked. The crazy thing this year is we have days where we're in the 80-mile range, and no one's freaking out about 80 miles.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything on social media. Knock on wood. Don't go to social media now and start
Please.
putting things in there. But there's days where we're at 85 plus miles and no one is freaking out. I think it's the stigma around 100 miles.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
lot, right? But there will be a day that we're going to basically dip down and do a loop, and we'll have that announced here before long. Gravel is something that I care a lot about, and it's one of my big passions. So we're going to have a full gravel day. We are also looking at kind of a sneak peek behind the curtain kind of thing. Possibly doing gravel sections each day.
Oh wow!
One of the ways we made gravel work last year was, instead of having a full route, it actually connected with the normal route. So then we could offer support to the riders. And I think we had the option, when going from west to east this year in some of the areas that we are at, there's some pretty amazing gravel sections that if we can connect those dots to those communities and be able to, punch off on route and hit gravel for a couple miles and then back into a town, I think it'll be awesome. So right now we're building a team of gravel guys and gals that know those areas. So once we feel good about it, right now gravel is a mess. It's sloppy and gross, and we need some warm weather to kind of dry that up so we can truly get some eyes on the road. But gravel is one of those things where you can lose yourself truly and you have no idea that you're still in Iowa.
Yeah. Two things. One, you can tell that you have a passion for gravel based on the gravel last year. It was just so well crafted, and how you could still have little towns to stop in and have a refreshment and then get back on the gravel. You could tell that Phippen really thought about what a gravel rider would want. And with that in mind, just remember that as we are still waiting to put out the gravel route.
For sure.
We want it to be the best that it can be.
Yeah. We're gonna bring you gravel, and we're gonna make that happen for you. Just give us some time to truly get it dialed in, because I want it to be good and not just like thrown together. And with the people we're looking at to help us with this are true gravel enthusiasts, so they know these areas very, very well. So I want to make sure we truly get eyes on the sections. And but yeah, it's something that I'm super passionate about, and believe me, I get messages yearly over the last couple of years that said we need to do an entire gravel week.
Oh wow!
And that's obviously something that's we've been talking about. But I think if we can kind of incorporate some days of gravel leading up to it, I think it'd be fun for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, so gravel to be determined, but
Absolutely.
yes, there will be a gravel option, and of course a Century option.
Yeah, and it's it's part of the the magic of RAGBRAI. We don't want to give everything right out of the gate.
Yeah,
We want to
for sure.
spill it as we're doing it. So, no, we'll definitely announce gravel here down the road, and obviously our big Century Loop Day too.
Cool. Good. So, and I think we covered a little bit about, challenges that you are thinking about, which of course is rider safety. And you definitely touched on accommodating more riders on the road this year. So
yeah, it's one of those things where, it's the only event in the world that I know of that you can just show up and do, and no one basically kicks you off. Right. I mean, they kind of welcome you. Now, with that being said, we have to support these towns, and, RAGBRAI is there, and RAGBRAI will be here for the long haul. But when you show up for RAGBRAI and basically punch your ticket, you're helping support the communities that we roll through. So, being a planner and talking to these communities, that's one thing that they want to know is how many riders can we expect? And, Ann and I always kind of just pause and look at each other like, gosh, I wish we could just tell them, expect this number and we could be good. And, we're open, we're transparent. We tell them what we have registered, and that's, week-long riders and day pass riders, so they kind of know what to expect. But then you just don't know what's going to happen.
Sure.
Weather plays a big role. If it's beautiful again, like it was last year, people are coming, and they're going to bring all their friends and their family. Yeah. So you almost want, hot weather to kind of maybe keeps people away. But I just think with the size of what RAGBRAI is, the RAGBRAI being 50 years, people, I mean, I've been hearing about the bucket list of RAGBRAI with people for years. Right. They're definitely doing RAGBRAI 50. So if you are on the fence of do I register, the answer is register. Punch your ticket, help support the towns that will support you along the way. I am worried about, not the roads being able to handle us, but the actual communities having enough support from vendors to handle us. So we're really looking at things, but, the more accurate we can get the numbers, the easier it is to help make good decisions and bring in those people. Last year we partnered with the National Guard. There was a couple towns en route that basically said, we do not want riders drinking our water. So we offered support there. They had reached out. They want to be on route with us all week. So we'll find spots along the way, a lot of these longer stretches that may need support where you will have a big tanker set up. So water will be there. We've already started looking at, the shutdown procedures in these communities to get riders across, and I think they make a lot of sense. The State Patrol has seen them, and we've kind of been talking about that a lot because the end goal is we need to get riders across the state as efficiently as possible, because every town is going to do something above and beyond that. We need to maximize the amount of riders that can be in that town for those time frames. So, just know that when you see the State Patrol show up, it's last call. Grab your last beer, fill up your water bottles, and then move on, because there's a town waiting for you to showcase what they've been doing.
Yeah,
they've been planning forever.
Yeah. I think just to kind of add to what you were saying, this every year, if you really look at the towns, you can see how registering will help the communities, and it has helped them plan and either make a good decision about what to do, or there were people that showed up and were rude and didn't register, and they were like, oh my gosh, we're overwhelmed. I think this year you'll see the planning make a difference more than ever, where they'll truly be ready for us and truly have been able to accommodate us because they have some sort of good picture of how many people are going to be there. So it's just so important.
Yeah, we need you to register. That's for sure. It's just, I feel so bad when these towns ask, because early on, they're all worried. Once they get the majority of the work out of the way, then they start cruising and they start feeling really, really good. But early on, it's, well, what can we expect? How do we prepare? Can we do this? And, to be fair, if we could give them an exact number, it would make my life easier, and our team's life easier, because we just know what's coming. We just don't know what's coming, and we're going to register what we register, and then know that day people are just going to show up that we can't account for. So we want to account for you. We want to provide the best possible experience for all riders that roll across our state in July. And by you registering, it helps us account for who else is going to be there.
So if you're standing in a way too long porta potty line and you see somebody next to you that's not registered, point your finger right at them and be like, this is on you. I should go first.
This is on you.
Yeah. So,
well, what's next as far as planning?
Oh man. I was in my office yesterday at, it's like 6:30, and my day could have been over, but it wasn't over. I just feel like there's so much going on this year. It's hard for me to wrap my mind around what that looks like. Now, it's March. And we kind of talked about this when we started. I can't believe it's March already.
Yeah.
I feel we just announced the route and people were super jacked about it. And now it's, one quarter's almost gone. We are traveling across the state. We will be with towns another 16 plus times, meeting with them before we ride it in June. It's just making sure that they're good to go. We have a pass-through town and a meeting in Des Moines on April 1st. So we invite all those towns together. It's very similar format to what we did for the overnight town. State Patrol will be there. The DOT and railroads will be there. ABD, so alcohol will all be there. Food and vendoring people will be there. And that's kind of just our first way of getting everybody in the room together and getting eyes on who's who. And that's kind of the first true, they're forming committees. They're doing all the same things that these overnight towns have been working on for a while now. And then it's just full on, helping them plan on a regular basis. So, 16 more times across the state. We'll ride it on bicycles, which that's one of the things I'm looking the most forward to is actually experiencing on a bicycle. And then we'll bring a pretty big event to Iowa in July.
Good. And, one thing we didn't cover, and I know that you're planning this as well, but we haven't seen anything as far as entertainment yet.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I know the pass-through towns, everybody always has like fun music playing, but at night, I feel like maybe it's going to be a little bit more epic because
it's going to be a pretty big deal.
RAGBRAI
It is going to be a big deal.
It's going to be a big deal. So kind of just to give you a quick backstory, in previous years, towns were in charge of booking the talent, finding the venues, and then we helped offer support where we could. Learning last year, that was a major stress point for some of these communities.
Yeah,
they don't have this, RAGBRAI vault full of money to use for these events. So what we decided to do was offer more support and be able to help give back more to these communities. So on top of the $5,000 that go to the pass-throughs, the $10,000 that goes to the meeting towns, $15,000 goes to the overnight towns, we are covering the expense of band and production for all the overnight towns.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
So, we hired a third party, some amazing guys that, instantly we hit it off with, and they feel part of our family. We started looking at talent, and it really kind of started last year on 49 driving across the state. We had a notepad in my truck that every time we heard a band come on the radio, we're like, oh, we got to have this band. so we started making this list of bands, and then we took that list and basically gave it to this third party and said, find us our talent. And they started finding bodies, because of COVID, bands kind of, didn't tour. And now since, COVID's been kind of in the rearview mirror, everybody's back on touring, which means the prices are a lot more expensive. They're being booked out farther. I mean, it was a lot of hard things we had to go through. We are signing contracts. We have bands that are basically coming to Iowa in July. I will say that, half the bands will be your RAGBRAI flavor bands, like ones you want to see. I won't mention any names today, but they've been on RAGBRAI before. They're proven. And then there's going to be some 4 epic bands that will truly melt the minds of people. The band we booked for Des Moines is the biggest band we have on the entire week. It's one of those things where on paper, man, it sounded like a great idea. Like, this is going to be huge. This is going to draw some people.
Wow.
And people are going to come see this band.
You can't see me right now, but I'm just grinning because we have some good surprises in store for you.
AP knows the band and she's losing her mind.
So this is just one more reason to keep moving throughout the day. Like, if you want to see something epic, you got to get into town on time. Get a shower, man.
There isn't going to be one night where you're like, I think I'll just stay in the campground. No. You get downtown and you see that band.
You're going to see that band.
Yeah.
The band that's going to be in Coralville, and I've talked about this, is one of my, growing up in high school, it was a band that I listened to on repeat. So they were a band I originally wanted. It took a little bit to get them, but to have them, I mean, I'll be a fanboy on the side of the stage, just like total on this band.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those bands, like when I hear this, one of these songs kick in, it takes me back to, in high school. I mean, it's just,
that's awesome.
It's cool. But we have a lot of those bands across the state. But it was one of those things where we found that this is a major lift for these communities. It's a major lift for us, and we're just trying to help with it. So if we can relieve that stress and carry that load for them, and then allow them to just do what they're good at, which is showcasing their community, we'll be in a good spot. But the talent we have is going to be pretty big deal.
Good. Well, I'm sure I will say on behalf of all listeners that we are looking forward to the days ahead when you are announcing those.
Yes, absolutely.
Well,
Good.
like Matt said, it's more fun to save some surprises for later down the road.
Sure,
Like
yeah.
let's give them a big surprise down. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Matt, for taking the time to talk to us. And, this is pretty special that we were able to do multiple episodes to talk about, how cool Iowa is, how cool RAGBRAI is, how much fun we're all going to have in July.
And I just wanted to say thank you so much to you and Ann and our teammate Erica. You really you burned the midnight oil. You're up early bird getting the worm. I mean, you guys
all these analogies she comes up with.
I mean, you guys, it's hard to express how much work our team has truly put into it. And I'm not really trying to toot my own horn. I'm trying to toot their horn because these guys are freaking awesome. They just really pour their heart and soul into making sure this ride is a good ride for you guys.
Yeah, I know. I think it's, to touch on that a little bit, to do what, this team does and to be able to see what every teammate is, what they're handling is pretty impressive. So, to have a world event that's truly run by 4 people and then these communities we go into is kind of a big deal. But, I want to do more of this conversation with our riders because I think there's value in, not just reading something online, but actually hearing it from the people that are actually putting in the work and doing it. It helps answer a lot of questions because, one thing I found out in this job is there's a lot of people that think they have the answers or they know the answers because of what's happened on previous RAGBRAIs. And this ride is not like a previous RAGBRAI. It is evolving. So I would much rather have you hear it from our voice rather than hear it from somebody in town that overheard somebody at a bar talking about RAGBRAI coming through. And, the answer is wrong when we want to make sure we get you the right answer.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're going to be on the podcast again. Great.
I will be on the podcast again.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. I appreciate
Thank you for
that.
having me.
Thanks. Well, listeners, that is it for this week. We both want to thank you for tuning in to listen to the Just Go Bike podcast.
And if you'd like to contact us with a comment about the podcast, or maybe you have a topic in mind, you can reach us at justgobikepodcast@gmail.com, or you can also follow us on social media at justgobike on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Please rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast, especially if you're a fan. And if you have any extra time, pop on over to the Murphology podcast for more bike adventure interviews.
All right, that's a wrap. We'll be back next week. Until then, just go bike!